Welcome to the Fret Friends Podcast, a guitar and music podcast here to instruct, inform, and showcase. Fret Friends is a podcast from AP Guitar, a music tuition business established in 2012, which provide lessons, workshops, and courses to students all over the world. So here's your host, Adam Picard.
Master the guitar at your own pace. Personalized lessons, real progress, anytime. The AP Guitar Master Program is ideal for busy people who cannot commit to live lessons each week. You will receive a personalized video lesson, which is recorded just for you from me, not pre-recorded, each Friday. You'll be invited into WhatsApp community, and you'll have full access to me for feedback and guidance throughout the week. So it's like having a guitar teacher in your pocket, essentially. If this sounds like something you'd be interested in, then please express your interest by emailing me on contact@apguitar.co.uk. I will send you a registration form. You can share your goals with me, and then we get started. For those who don't know me, my name's Adam. I'm the founder and tutor at AP Guitar. I started Fret Friends in January this year, and it's become one of the funnest parts of my job. Season 1 was all about music and guitar tips. This season, season 2, involves musical, personal stories of mine. And it gives me a chance to open up and tell you some of my honest stories. So let's get going. The show I'll never forget. Season 2, episode 2. Now, I suppose at the moment I'm playing a lot of weddings, mainly in the UK, occasionally in Europe. I enjoy them and I enjoy their pay, if I'm honest. Over the last few years, I've also played 2 local pub gigs, and they have probably been by far the most fun ones that I've played, because a lot of my friends and my family turn up and it turns into a big party, basically. Now, they are clearly the memories that will stay with me forever. And if I'm honest, was exactly why I chose to book those gigs. But as I say, at the moment, it is weddings. And I've just come out of a very busy summer wedding season, which I'm very grateful for. And I do generally enjoy them, yes. I feel honoured to be chosen each and every time that I play at somebody's wedding. It's their special day, of course. But like any job, it can have its bad days. And I suppose it also can get a little lonely at times. But I had to find my way here, though. Through the years, I had to find my way here with the weddings and settled down with what I knew that I was good at and what I knew I wanted to do, and it fit my lifestyle and everything else. But it started playing in sort of dingy music clubs in South London at 13, 14, 15 years old. Then the toilet circuit, as we call it, in London and Essex, whilst at college. Session work for a major label artist when I was in my late teens, which is my first kind of big thing, I guess. Jack Wills clothing brand in-store tours in my early 20s with a different band, to busking and playing in swanky restaurants at 21 years old in Sydney and Melbourne, and then a break. This break was when AP Guitar was setting up. And I used to think that if I ever got my teaching business to being full-time, then that would be enough, more than enough even. And however, after about 4 or 5 years of teaching full-time and making a living that I was happy with, I did realize that I was lacking something, inspiration. And what's more, inspiration for my students. So I started The Wedding Singer, and that's what I call it, The Wedding Singer. I'm aware it's a film, and it's sort of tongue-in-cheek at that as well. It was something that I wish that I had started earlier, and I recently heard this term on Instagram, and this is where I seem to hear all these toxic terms of things that I've sort of been aware of, but when people label them, it really doesn't sit well with me. Service musician. I can only imagine that they mean as opposed to a session musician. I think it's almost implying that being a service musician is inferior to a session musician. And I think that's just pathetic, really, because I think what determines which type of musician is better? So someone that you see on TV playing behind Lewis Capaldi, is that someone who's better than who's playing in your local pub? No, is the answer. Excuse me. Is it how much money you make then? Is it hopefully how skilled you are at your instrument? How many people you play to? Because in all of those factors, between what they're calling a service musician and a session musician, it can be equal. In fact, in terms of how much money you make, there aren't a lot of session gigs that are making the money that I'm making for weddings. And to perform at weddings, especially solo like I do, you have to be comfortable performing to 400, 500 people at a time, depending on the wedding, especially some of the Asian weddings I've played at over the years. But you have to remember, you're also doing everything yourself. There's a lot of pressure on yourself. You don't have a sound guy. You're doing it yourself. You're normally carrying all your own equipment. This year, I have someone, a friend of mine, who's been helping me with all of my gigs because I can't carry anything because my foot's still recovering. But normally, for the last however many years before that, I've been completely and utterly on my own. Anyway, going back to that, this is just a side issue that's just been playing in my mind. I really don't like this service musician, session musician thing, because I've done both and they are the same. But back to the episode and the show I'll never forget, it wasn't a wedding. In fact, I was performing to murderers and other prisoners who had committed very serious crimes. And what if I told you that the headlining act was a cat, and not only a cat, but a famous cat, and his owner? Now, I think it was 2016 or 2017. I had played at this prison a few times in total, but this one stands out the most. Again, like the last episode about the supermarket, I'm not sure if it's okay to name the actual prison. I don't think it matters. And I don't think it matters to you as a listener, really, anyway. It's a Category A prison. So Category A meaning high security type prisons who are housing the most dangerous types of prisoners. If those prisoners were on the street, they'd be a threat to society. So you get searched as you go in. I think I was probably a little nervous the first time. And essentially I was performing to prisoners who are recovering or recovered, but I suppose that you're always recovering even if you are recovered from drug use or alcohol use. They'd been given this day as a privilege for good behavior, but also it was really, I think, more so to lift their spirits through music and stories, in which I think is an excellent idea amongst other things they could do, considering the high reoffending rate in the UK. I stuttered before saying the UK. I'm sure it's just the whole entire world. I was painfully aware of the hideous crimes that they had committed. And even now, the thought of that I was performing it does make me feel a little uneasy, but what's done is done. And surely for them, there is always time to turn things around, no matter how bad it's gotten, because what's the point otherwise? It should be to rehabilitate. So I remember I looked at the set list the other day, and I remembered performing there, and I performed Don't Dream It's Over by Crowded House and other songs. I think I did probably about a 30 or 45 minute set each time I went there. Now, it was really emotional because you are seeing prisoners, you don't know who's done what, but you're seeing them cry, and you're seeing them cry to each other, and some of them are just sitting on their own, just crying, of course, as well. And lots of them were singing along as well. I'll definitely never forget it. And at the end, a prisoner was allowed to show me around their cell and their wing, and they gave me a tour around and introduced me to some of their friends, which was interesting and quite eye-opening. And so I actually initially insensitively titled this episode "The Weirdest Gig I Ever Played," but then, of course, weird can be wonderful. But as I started thinking about this day more and more, I thought the word weird is not okay, because it wasn't weird. That's a very insensitive. It's definitely not what I think about it. There's nothing weird about raising spirits of people who didn't, for whatever reason, get the chance in life that people like me had. And again, come back to that uneasy feeling in the pit of my stomach, because there are people that don't get the chance in life that I had, and they do not turn out to commit these crimes. So I've had ideas for courses in prison. I'll keep them to myself in case one day I get any funding for it. But I have contacted them, and I've tried, and they simply don't have the funding for it. They just do these one-off events. But okay, back to the story. I mentioned a cat. So there was a cat. The cat headlined. I couldn't even headline over an animal. The cat came on after me. And you may have heard of this cat. This is there was a book, and then a blockbuster movie made after the book called A Street Cat Named Bob, based on the true story by James Bowen. So James Bowen was also there with the cat. And the film alone grossed a worldwide total of almost $18 million. So it was a huge thing. So yeah, Bob the cat and his owner James followed my performance that day, and they were not singing. The cat didn't sing. The guy didn't sing. They were the headliners, and I stuck around to listen to them as you do. Sat down with everyone else. I forgot to kind of paint a picture of the room, but I'll do that in a minute probably. So I stuck around to listen to his speech, and of course he had a lot to say about his former life as a homeless man and a heroin addict. So it was eye-opening for me, just sitting there thinking, what am I doing here? But yeah, sorry. So it was in a big room. I don't know what they normally do in that room, and there was probably about 75 or 100, and yeah, it was quite a lot of people there. So there it is. The most, I don't know. I still don't know what to say. So this is why I renamed it The Show I'll Never Forget. Eye-opening, mind-blowing, unique, whatever. But it's a show that I will never ever forget. And of course, one of the most emotional too, even with the, I shouldn't say this, but even with the hundreds of weddings that I've played at, this is probably one of the most emotional. Actually, it was the most emotional. And so there we have it. That's taken us to the end of season 2, episode 2, a season all about personal stories of mine to do with music. And because I get to speak about myself, I am really enjoying this season. So if you are too, then please make sure you give a rating on whichever platform you are currently using, because I would like more people to hear it as well. And you can also reach out on contact@apguitar.co.uk, or you can visit my website, www.apguitar.co.uk, for more information on everything that I do here, AP Guitar related stuff. So that's lessons, workshops, video courses, or my new AP Guitar Master Program, which I was promoting at the start of this episode. You can also sign up to the mailing list at the footer of the website now, so your email address comes straight through and you'll be kept up to date that way. So thank you so much. I know I've blurted through this one, but I want to keep them short so that people have time to listen to them, as I'm aware everybody's busy. So thank you so much. I'll see you next time, and thank you for listening.